I don't think I can stress enough how much that is one of the big reasons why I got heavily interested in Ashes at the beginning, was just the way that nodes function. The way that the world is going to be dynamic, things are going to rise and fall and unlock and then lock back up based on what nodes are alive.
Something similar to the augment system and fighting in general is, I'm trying to figure out which way to go with this. We've been kind of stuck to three primary pieces of fighting, right? So you've got your going out and grinding mobs, you've got your collecting glint from said mobs, and then using that glint to run caravans. And right now that's pretty much the main loop that we have. And there's a variety of directions that like they went from this, and I thought that was really, really cool. But the first one I want to go into is talking about the story arcs and how they're being introduced. But before we get into that one, it's more so related to the dynamicy of the world. And someone once asked me, why is Ashes of Creation feeling like a living world to you compared to World of Warcraft? And the answer that Steven gave to Jamie's question about how the world feels very much like it's all on timers, it's all very static right now, versus having more of a dynamic function that was advertised or shared in planning. And Steven's response was that those two aren't really correlated necessarily. And the dynamic elements are how the predicates are used for certain spawners. So right now, a prime example that is in the game today, if you were to go test, are the pocket dungeons that just got implemented in the desert node. And those would normally not be there until the desert nodes got to stage 3, which they already are. So that's why they're in. But once we see something like the sieges come in that will destroy them, or other things like story arcs, that's what will kind of help with predicating when those things become unlocked. And that is a perfect answer and a perfect example of how living the world is, because your direct choices of which nodes you level up first, which node you turn into a stage 4 node first, could be the reason why a certain thing unlocks or never unlocks until it gets sieged later and rebuilt. But what are your thoughts on that? I just, from a D&D, a DM perspective, I love that. I feel like it adds a lot more like reality that the world really is reacting to me being in it, versus the typical table that I see with D&D where like you're just playing a character in a game, you're not actually in the game. So it adds a lot more to the immersion. But what about your thoughts? What did you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that statement of it puts you more in it and involved with the story or what's happening. Like I can give a perfect example that's not exactly a story arc, but something that like happened one of the weeks of the testing. Steven was going around on Lyneth and decided to drop Firebrand on the Halcyon Fishers.
I remember that.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And there's just that's like, that isn't a story arc that's involved, like that was created by, well, technically it was created by Steven, but it's not created by Intrepid Studios. But like something like that is like what I feel is what makes Ashes and the involvement in this game and being there, because the people that were on for that week or even that day remember people talking, yeah, Steven just dropped Firebrand on Halcyon, like, Halcyon rocks, like. And it was so funny because I was busy at the time, and I look over to my screen, I see Firebrand's foot just taking up at least 80% of my screen. I'm trying to rush to my computer to log off, to run away, whatever, and I just see a flame torch me, and I'm like, oh, why did that
It's
happen?
alright, just don't move. It only sees by
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah.
Yep.
But like that's like something that's really interesting with Ashes of Creation, and how much the server and everything pulls into the players, and just creating these moments that are unique to servers. Because I'm pretty sure on Verra in the desert, he summoned a giant scorpion on other fishers.
Yeah.
And any, catch you later.
Yep. Later.
Thanks for stopping in.
Bye. Thank you.
But to get back on topic, Vertek, what did you think?
So I really I don't think I can stress enough how much that is one of the big reasons why I got heavily interested in Ashes at the beginning, was just the way that nodes function, the way that the world is going to be dynamic. Things are going to rise and fall and unlock and then lock back up based on what nodes are alive.
Yeah.
So just hearing it confirmed and saying like, yeah, I mean, obviously things aren't working as dynamic as we'd like them to in the finished product, but you know, for right now, things are on some timers and whatnot, because that's just the best we can do for now. We can make sure that things are available, but once they introduce all the vaseline and everything, it's gonna be great. Like,
Yeah.
Can you imagine also if the predicate is to have like some very specific nodes available, like all of Riverlands and the desert and the tropics? There's like one node in each that needs to be above like a 4, that would then unlock like a mega dungeon, like a mega raid or something like that, that has like some kind of hidden secret nifty stuff in it that's only available while those are of a certain level.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely bananas. Like they could make it
Yeah, I
endlessly
agree.
complex to where some stuff never gets discovered. Just never. 15 years
Yeah.
into the game's lifespan, and Steven could still say, you know, there's still some hidden dungeons that people just haven't found, like at all, on any server anywhere. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really like that too, because like that really drives the curiosity in me to be like, oh, what else have I missed? What else can I go check out? You know? And I think that there's a lot of really neat things with that. And I mean, the other part of the dynamicism is the story arc, which is what I was kind of hinting at a second ago. So for those that don't know, story arcs are unlocked by multiple types of player activity within each realm. And this could be a cultural activity, it could be regional, it could be node progression related. There's a lot more to that besides just here's the story arc. And I think that it's really, really cool, because depending on, and my understanding is, depending on the way that your choices come together will depend what happens in the server. And that means that, you know, if we on Lyneth chose to do a certain thing with our story arc and we went a certain path, that may or may not open or unlock something that Verra never got, because when Verra did it, they went a whole other direction with that story arc, and now they'll never have that open, or maybe not as early have that open. Who knows? But I thought that was just really cool, because that has a lot more weight, right, to your choices and things like that. But they did mention on Monday, Steven will be streaming and showing off one of the story arcs. So keep an eye on that. This will already be live for those of you on YouTube. You're going to be seeing this as soon as we're done streaming here. But for those of us hanging out on Monday evening, maybe that'll be something that I can talk with you guys about for Mead Quest, since I'm taking over that one.
Steven, soon to be the largest streamer on Twitch.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's all a conspiracy. He created Ashes of Creation and Intrepid Studios just to become the most well-known streamer. But Sewer, actually, you had a comment or like a thought on this as well in terms of, people and like story arcs. So
Yeah. So what I was thinking was like with how big the map is going to get at some point, like I don't know how many nodes are going to be involved in the tropics, but I can't imagine the person that logs on for an hour or 2 hours a day is going to make the trip from Asmarand all the way to the furthest tropic node for a story arc. So
Right.
I'm really curious as to how it's going to be affected in region base and like how that's going to play out towards people that say they're already in a node or an area that's past that story arc, and
Yeah.
they want to experience it. So it'd be really interesting to like know more about those details of how it's going to affect individual regions as opposed to just the blanket statement that we've gotten.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see that. The other cool thing is like story arcs can initiate the world events, right? So that's kind of something I hinted at. But Kinko's like, there's something I wish we can have somewhere in the world, like a dungeon that has no precise level. Kind of reminds me of the Final Fantasy dungeons for tech, where like it could just continue going on and then it continues eventually getting like more and more high level.
Yeah, that one tower specifically, I forget the name of it, but yeah.
But
That'd
what
be
are
neat.
what are your thoughts on the story arc? To bring it back, sorry.
So yeah, the story arcs, that's definitely something that's been missing. I personally haven't felt, I mean, I guess that would be a false statement. I have felt the lack of them. I've felt the lack of questing in general, but I haven't really felt wronged by their absence. I know some people have been really sad and like almost ferociously upset that questing isn't completed and they don't have all the quests in there working perfectly well and they don't have story arcs and such like that. So just the fact that they said like, yeah, we know they're off for a purpose, but on Monday, you know, we're going to be streaming and showing off one of them at least. That'll at least give people more of a flavor of them, because we saw the one with Carfin. There was just a quick little bit of, hey, check this out. Kind of a little bit of sparkling. Hey there, Peoria.
It's hi.
But
it goes. How about you?
Yeah, I can't wait till they actually bring that stuff in. And I know that a lot of the lore stuff, Steven's already said he's trying to keep as tight to the chest as possible.
Yes.
Eventually, they got to bring the quest into testing, though. Eventually.
Yes.
Someday we're going to get them all.
But do you think there'll be a bunch of like blinks where like you get the gist of the quest, but not like any particular names, like Sand Mama versus
Honestly,
actual Sand Mama name?
I would absolutely love it if they came up with like a copy and paste of canned responses that were like, hello, adventurer, can you do a thing for me? Go over there and talk to that guy.
Yeah.
And just like a bunch of stuff like that they could just copy and paste into the quest like temporarily, or even make a tag where, you know, display to player response 17.
Yeah.
That way we could still do the quests and see stuff, but we have no idea what any of it means in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, absolutely.